Five, four, three, two, one. Hello, everyone, and I hope you're all doing well. My name is Tanner, the Mind Hacker. I help gamers overcome their depression and addictions and create a better life for themselves. And I'm also the host of this podcast, Unleash the Hero Within, where I have different gamers come on to talk about their gaming journeys. And I'm very thankful and grateful today and excited to have Ryan, BoomShotsandBarbells here on the line. He's a professional he's a bodybuilder, and he's also a gamer. He's a Twitch streamer, and I really dig your channel, Ryan. How you help gamers, maintain a healthy living lifestyle while gaming. I think that's really cool how you share those tips like while you're streaming. And I'm super excited to talk about just how you got into gaming and where you came with the idea for that, because it's super unique. I don't see anyone else doing it. So thank you so much for coming on, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here.
Of course.
Yeah.
Perfect. So where are you located?
I'm just outside Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little city called Port Coquitlam. So yeah, that's where I reside. It's like 40 minutes away from like downtown Vancouver.
Awesome.
So it's a little bit more rural than like downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, not as busy.
Yeah,
in comparison.
definitely. Do you prefer it more like the rural part compared to
I
city?
think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Downtown is nice. Obviously, there's not very nice areas. There's like the downtown east side, which is like the uh the worst kind of like street in North America.
Right.
It's just like full of homeless people and like drug addicts and people just like left on the streets kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing. Um, but yeah, I prefer like rural areas, places where you can go out to walk and
Yeah.
do hikes and do outdoor activities. I'm very much more that kind of person than like a city person. Even just going downtown, sometimes it can be like seeing a lot of homeless people
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that, and then you see the contrast of like super wealthy. It's
Yeah.
just I don't like that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I'm more of like a rural person too. Like I prefer to be out of the city as much as possible. Like me and
Yeah.
my wife's main goal is to get like our own land and then just kind of like have like farmland and grow like our own like organic garden and be able to go on like
Mm.
hikes and stuff. So I'm definitely
Yeah.
very like in line with you there. Like, and just nice to get out in nature, right? Like being
Yeah.
stuck in the middle of
Yeah.
the city with all like the pollution and everything too is just like
Yeah.
not so nice. So
That's one good thing about Vancouver and the
mhm.
area is there is like a limitless number of hikes you can do.
Yeah.
Um, there's like hikes like just down the road from here. There's Minnetonka, which is like a park. You can go around there, and then closer into Vancouver, there's hikes around there with like good views. So like you're slowly climbing up like a little mountain, and then you get a nice view from the top because it's Vancouver's like surrounded by water, so you get a nice view as you reach like the peak of the hike,
Oh yeah.
which is like quite appealing to a lot of people. Um, and then from here, like there's also like Whistler, so if you travel 2 hours north of Vancouver, or maybe not even that, maybe like an hour and a half. There's like endless hikes up there as well. And then even closer between like Whistler and Vancouver, there's like Squamish and there's lots of places to hike around there. And then you've got stuff like golf and things like that. Like there's just endless things to do in the outdoors around here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I know I have some family who lives in Vancouver, and I've been there once when I was pretty young, but it was pretty beautiful when I went down there. So I can
Yeah,
imagine there's a lot of amazing hiking spots out there. That's really awesome. I love to hear that. Yeah, in South Carolina we have a lot of like water activities and hikes and stuff. Like we have the Smoky Mountains like 2 hours away from us. We can always drive up there. I
yeah,
used to live in Knoxville, Tennessee, which had a lot more hiking, probably pretty similar to what Vancouver had, but I definitely still like it down here. It's much more, and it's warmer most of the year, so I can be
right.
outside a lot, which is
Yeah.
nice for sure. Um,
What's the temperature like around there then?
well, so right now it is like we're getting hit with a cold front, but it like barely snows. Like if it snows down here, we maybe get like an inch, and then like everything shuts down because we don't have any snow equipment.
Right.
It's pretty funny. Like I used to coming from living in Canada and also living in Colorado, like when we used to get like snowstorms, like, lots of inches, and then you come here and it's just like, oh, well, everything's shutting down. Like the kids don't go to school if there's an inch of snow. It's just like, it's pretty funny. Like it's totally different. It's
It's funny
wild.
because here they're like it's almost from the time that I've been here, they've pretty much had snow every year,
Hmm.
and a lot of people complain because like things slow down and public transport and like being able to drive and stuff that becomes more difficult
Right.
and taking flights in and out of Vancouver airport. It's a small airport, so they don't have as many flights, and when they do, if there's snow, then it tends to slow it down by quite a lot. So a lot of people complain about stuff like that, and that you get snow quite frequently here, so they should be more prepared. But I don't think Vancouver has been known for having like a lot of snowfall. But when it does happen, people like to complain because they assume, it's Vancouver,
Hmm.
it's Canada, so people should be like used to it and stuff. But people compare that to like Calgary, and Calgary gets, a huge supply of snow
Yeah.
annually, so not quite the same.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
Yeah.
we've had
Yeah.
a big snowfall like the past 2 years. It's been quite heavy.
Oh,
Like
has it?
it'll like a good few inches thick, and then it'll
Mhm.
stop for like a week or two, and then it'll just continue on again. So yeah, it's been quite a lot recently.
Do you do any like snow activities like snowboarding or anything like that?
No, not yet.
Hmm.
That's like one of the goals. One of the things I want to try and like get more into is more like snow-based activities. So I want to try snowboarding. I want to get into that like soon if I can, because we also have like there's so many mountains here that you can visit to do like skiing and snowboarding. So there's like two in Vancouver, like North Vancouver. There's Grouse Mountain and another one I can't Cypress Mountain.
Okay.
And then also there's like Whistler Mountain, Blackcomb. People do it there as well. So yeah, that's definitely something I want to get into.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, how do you find you're still able to like? Do you find like you get a little less active during the winter, or do you stick with it by going to the gym? Is that what you do?
Oh yeah, I still go to the gym. I do that year round.
Awesome.
Uh, it just gets a bit more difficult to like transport to and from it kind of thing. Going out for walks as well. We still do that, but obviously not super long ones. It's just like because we also live by a dike area that's
Mhm.
just down the road. It's like maybe 30 or 40 minutes away. You can kind of like walk around there. There's a footpath. So we'll go maybe around there at the furthest. But yeah, aside from that, it's just like training consistently,
Yeah,
5 days a week.
definitely. So, what got you into the like bodybuilding?
Um, well, when I started training, I was like 15 or 16. I was still in high
Mhm.
school, and one of my friends at the time, where my high school is in the UK, across the street from it, there's a leisure centre. So there's tennis courts, there's like squash courts in there,
Mhm.
there's badminton, basketball, and then upstairs is a gym.
Right.
So one of my friends started training in there, uh, and it appealed to me to begin with because I was quite like short and I was also really skinny.
Mhm.
Like my friend who was training, he could fit his like hand like this around my arm completely, so it'd be like that,
Wow.
just above like my elbow, like here.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't like sometimes people would help me just because they know I was short and skinny, and so like I would struggle with it more, and I didn't like that. I wanted to be able to do things like myself. So that kind of like led me into training uh, with my friend who had already started, and he'd seen like some progress already.
Mhm.
So he was able to assist me to begin with. It was funny. There'd be like a group of other kids from the high school that would come and train with him because he'd at least started and he had the basic knowledge in which you would need in training to then like help the rest of us. So there'd be like maybe a group of 4 or 5 of us. It was like he was doing like a small PT session with a group already. And he still does that now. He still does like PTing and physiotherapy, I think,
Nice.
in a gym. And from there, like, I don't know how like I made the jump from like training or just being fit into like bodybuilding. I think it was more like there was this online personality guy called Aziz Shavershian or something like that. But he made a character called Ziz, and he was like very aesthetic in
Mhm.
terms of physique and stuff, and he was very confident about that, and he was like he would he was like a YouTuber, but
Mhm.
like before YouTube kind of thing.
Right.
He would really get his personality out there, and like everybody our age saw his content and thought it was cool, and we wanted to get physiques like him. So I started. That was kind of like the next goal for me. So I
Mhm.
would try and train in order to get a physique like that, and then from there, we would go to like expos and fitness events and stuff, and they'd have Body Power in the UK. That was like an annual fitness expo
Mhm.
in the UK in Birmingham, and we'd go there and they would show like bodybuilders like the current bodybuilders would be there. So people like Kai Green were
Mhm.
huge, and Phil Heath, and other people that like Michael Hearn,
Mhm.
Steve Cook, people like this who are like either doing competitions or doing like online fitness content. So um, I started viewing Steve Cook's kind of content on
Mhm.
YouTube, and it was a lot of like because he was doing men's physique competitions. So he was more like a bodybuilder than like just a person who's got like an aesthetic physique
Right.
to then like promote kind of
Mhm.
thing. He was more like a competitor. So I was watching his content for a long period of time, and that encouraged me to like continue pursuing things like competitions and things
Mhm.
like that. And then as time went on, I just like looked into more of like the open bodybuilding and classic physiques, people
Mhm.
who were like bodybuilders in like the 70s and 80s, like Arnold
Oh
obviously,
yeah.
and uh, yeah, others like from that era. Lee Haney,
Mhm.
he won like 8 Olympias. He won more than Arnold, and he had a great physique. And these were like open bodybuilders. So yeah, I just slowly progressed from like just standard aesthetic physiques that are like obtainable for anybody to then like slightly bigger people competing in men's physique,
Mhm.
and then from there like classic. Like I very much like classic physique kind of competitions at the moment. That's like my main focus. That's one thing I would like to do eventually in the future.
Nice.
So yeah, that's just kind of how like I went from getting into fitness and then into bodybuilding, and yeah.
Nice. That's a cool story, man. That's
Mm.
awesome that you were progressing forward, and I see how like the influences that you saw from like Ziz and Steve Cook and things like that kind of drew you along that path to pursue that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and like as you progress as well,
Mhm.
that's the like one thing about fitness is once you've reached one goal, you want to just aim for another one
Oh yeah.
and another one and another one. So like that's why you just end up continuing to try and like
Mhm.
look for a bigger and or better physique to try and aim for kind of thing. Um, so I think that's one reason which is like continue to progress for me.
Right, yeah. And it feels good to get healthier and to like get stronger for sure. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not as far along as you with like bodybuilding, but like I've definitely come a long way with my health and like getting actual muscles. Because I was always that skinny kid too, like you were talking about,
Mm.
like just
Right.
tall and like a string bean is what people would call me.
Yeah, right,
Uh,
okay.
and so like yeah, I definitely had to do some work to actually put on like some muscle. Um,
Yeah.
and it feels good to gain more muscle. And I plan on continuing that progress. So I can
Yeah,
definitely
that's good.
see like why you were interested in that, and I feel like that's also like with like the gaming mindset, right? Like you take on one challenge, then you want to take on the next challenge and continue forward. So kind of makes sense that you're also a gamer. So when did you start going into gaming as well?
Oh, that was like from my earliest age, I remember. Like my earliest memory, uh one of my earliest memories was before we moved to the UK. I was like 5 years old when we moved. Before that, I remember being here, and one of my memories was I remember playing Mortal Kombat 2
Oh yeah.
on like a Sega
Mhm.
Genesis on the TV with my dad. So like it's always been in me from like
Mhm.
my youngest age, and it just kind of progressed from there, kind of like the training.
Mhm.
Um, I just I just loved it like that much. I just never stopped doing it. Um, when I was younger as well, like I would play a lot of games, but I didn't have like the persistence to get through them all the way.
Mhm.
Like complete the whole game. Like once it got difficult, I would try maybe one or two times and then just give up. Um, and it wasn't until like I was about 7 years old when the original Xbox came out,
Yeah.
and we got it, and I remember like watching my dad play Halo Combat Evolved the
Mhm.
first time for a little while, and he was just like, "Do you want to go?" So I was like, yeah, okay. And I tried it, and like I did like the first level or the second one or something, and like I loved it. I thought it was amazing. And that was like the first kind of game that I actually wanted to
Mhm.
complete the whole thing, and had no problem with doing. And then from there, like once I did it once, I had to do it like again on each difficulty
Right.
and do it many times over and over. And I still do it now. Like, if I want just a game to chill and just play without like thinking about too much, then I will play, Master Chief Collection and just run through one and three, like again. Um, so yeah, that's how I've just kind of got into it.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, the Halo games are definitely awesome. Like I had a lot of good memories playing with my brother and going into those and just like playing through the campaigns, like just like you were talking about. Like they're just like something classic. Like it's like as soon as you say Halo, like the Halo music just plays in my head, and I'm just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
ah. So yeah, definitely understand that. And so you got into gaming because of your dad then, because your dad was a gamer.
yeah. I guess so. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
He
awesome.
plays like it was funny when I was in like a university
Mhm.
because where I went to university, I lived, um, we lived in England in like the northwest area, but where I went to university was in Wales.
Okay.
Um, so we was like had a bit of a distance between us, but every now and then, like my dad would call me up about like a certain part in a game that he's playing that he's stuck on. So I'll be like, oh, hang on, I'll load it up and show you how to get through it. So um, yeah, so like I guess he got me into it, and then I just kept with it, and like with the points where I would start to struggle or I found it difficult, he would just tell me like, just keep trying, and eventually you'll you'll do it.
Mhm.
And I guess that's my first point of learning like persistence and um, uh, yeah, motivation, I
Mhm.
guess, like to keep going when you're struggling in something. And obviously later on, I started to use that whilst I was in the gym as well.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's one aspect that has helped me with like pushing myself in training as well. It's just like I just think I'll just see what I can do, and if I don't do it, then I can't do it right now. But I'll try again another time. You know, it's
Yeah.
just like persistence.
Yeah, I love that mindset. I'm sure it helps tremendously with both gaming and with your bodybuilding. That's awesome. So, um, yeah. So then you mostly play Halo now and Battlefield, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, Halo Battle. I also like single player games as
Mhm.
well. So Fallout, Skyrim, The
Oh yeah.
Witcher, Dead Space,
Mhm.
Resident Evil. I just like all games basically. Like
Yeah.
if it has an interesting story and uh, it's it's made well, then
Mhm.
I want to explore it and see what happens and see where it leads, kind of thing.
Definitely.
So multiplayer is more for like with friends,
Hmm.
and single player games I like. I want to hear a good story.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That the stories can definitely draw you in. I mean, that's why Halo was so good, right? It has a
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
interesting story there. Actually, there's a game I played recently called, which I feel like you may like. I'm not sure if you played it. Remnant Two. Have you ever heard of that game?
I haven't.
Yeah,
I'll
you,
have to
you
look it
should
up.
check it out. It's there's also the first one's Remnant from the Ashes, and it's pretty cool because it's kind of like. Have you ever heard of like Dark Souls?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, but it's a shooter version, and you can
Oh,
actually
okay.
play with your friends too. So like you could,
Remnant
and
2.
yeah, it's like a you don't play against like each other. You play against like big bosses and things. Like it has
Yeah.
pretty cool story. And it's pretty,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, it
definitely
looks good
interesting.
actually.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting game. I would like me and my brother spent a lot of time playing through that game, so I definitely recommend giving it a look out. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I
Yeah, I'll
mean,
check that out.
all the games you mentioned, like Skyrim, like Witcher, like those games are all just classics, like super fun for sure. I
Mm.
spent countless hours on them. Um,
Yeah, that's like it if it doesn't have to be just gaming
mhm,
as well. Like it can be movies or books
mhm,
as well. It's like if anything is classed as like timeless or
mhm,
like very memorable, then I want to know what it's about and what it is. So like any games like that, then I'm gonna eventually try it out and
mhm,
do the whole thing and see what I think of it. Same with movies as well. Like a lot of movies recently, like uh, timeless classics kind of thing. Um, I've been putting time away to make sure I see it
mhm.
because it's a part of people's creativity that I think is like worth um, paying attention to, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. So, what is like some of your top favorite like movies or like movie collections? So there's some like that have like really good trilogies or like series.
Obviously, obviously, the Lord of the
Oh
Rings.
yeah. Mhm.
Obviously, my girlfriend is like obsessed with that as well. The whole series, like,
Awesome.
she could watch it weekly, and sometimes she has done. Um, I'm currently in a room where she does like professional artwork.
Oh,
So a
nice.
lot of the time when she's drawing, she'll put a movie on just to for background noise,
Mhm.
and I'll just hear like the Lord of the Rings going on in the room. So the Lord of the Rings definitely.
Mhm.
Star Wars
Oh yeah.
obviously, like
Mhm.
because when I was young, I grew up on the prequels. I like the prequels a lot, and I know it's up for debate as to like how good they are, but like episode 3 is like my favorite.
Mhm.
Um, I could watch that like quite frequently, and then there's timeless classics like The Shining,
Oh.
The Godfather. Um, I like war movies a lot because a lot of them it's based on like incredible things that happened in real life.
Mhm.
So I like Saving Private Ryan, the stuff like that as well. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely some good movies for sure. Yeah, I was thinking Lord of the Rings when you're talking about like big movie collections. I was just like, boom, Lord of the Rings, like right there for sure. Like that one came to mind right away for me. Have you
yeah.
seen that? What did you think of that TV show, The Rings of Power? Did you see that yet?
Yeah. We watched like I think we watched all of it
Hmm.
except the last episode. Um, it was okay.
Yeah.
I I don't know. Like I liked the backstory. I
Yeah.
liked the elf,
Yeah.
the story with the elf in it. I thought that was pretty good, but I don't know. It was just not the same. It felt
Hmm.
like it was like missing something. There was a lot of CGI in it as well.
Yeah.
It makes it look good, but I'm much more prefer and like I like the effort that they put in the original trilogy with like live action
Hmm.
like aesthetics kind of thing, making actual costumes and
Hmm.
going to like these areas in like New Zealand rather than just putting a big green screen in the background.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. There's something to be said for like seeing like that artwork and like the time they put into like the costumes and stuff. Like it makes me
Yeah,
think
yeah,
too like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. I don't know if you remember like saw those ones where they had like actually like built the costumes and they're like the
yeah.
super old school ones.
I've s- I've seen like I don't think I've seen any of them like in their entirety, but I've seen like clips of it, and I thought, wow, wow,
Yeah, those ones were like classics. I remember like with my friend, like just we'd like pizza night tonight. We're gonna watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and like get down on it. Like and like then they came up with like the like animated ones were just like they're just not as good. Like they don't have like the
right,
costumes like and the
yeah,
personality. Like
yeah.
it was definitely
I think
different.
I think that's one thing as well that
Mhm.
people really liked about the original Star Wars as well
Yeah.
is like it was all like prop stuff and
Mhm.
they're just camera angles to make things look much larger than they appear kind of thing and it's just like models in a room that they're filming. I think that's one reason why people like the original series a lot, along with like movies like Jaws and things where again it was all like animatronics
Mhm.
and live things that they had to create in order to get the shot right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's those are definitely classic movies for sure. So um speaking of Star Wars, there's obviously like the new TV shows, like a lot of different series, like the Obi-Wan, Mandalorian, Boba Fett. What did you think of those ones? You seen them?
Mandalorian, that was really good,
Yeah.
especially the first series.
Hmm.
A lot of people like that because they said it was like a video game
Oh yeah.
where it's like he goes out, he does a mission, he comes back, he gets his
Hmm.
reward, which was the metal. I can't remember what it's
Yeah,
Beskar,
Beskar.
is
Yep.
it?
Hmm.
Yeah, and then he melts it down and he gets another piece of equipment for his armor, and that's one thing that I actually liked about it. As it got on, people like didn't enjoy it as much, but I think like because I knew in the later series, um, uh, Grogu, like
Yeah.
the Baby Yoda character, like they were obviously gonna make so much money off of merchandise
Oh
based
yeah.
around that character that they
Hmm.
were gonna keep him in the Mandalorian story. Um, so I guess that like I knew that was gonna happen. So, but I didn't really think much of it like in terms of the story. Like I didn't think it impacted the story too much. I think those two characters, like the Mandalorian and Grogu being together, I like their companionship.
Oh yeah.
So I had no problem seeing more of it, kind of thing. It's just kind of like when I think of the Mandalorian, it's not just the Mandalorian; it's the
Hmm.
Mandalorian and Grogu. It's like
Yeah.
a, a companion kind of story.
Hmm.
So I think like that. Like um, overall, I think I enjoyed the Mandalorian a lot. I didn't watch Andor,
Hmm.
but I heard some people say that was better. They just preferred the story, I guess. But I haven't seen it, so I can't make a judgment on that. Um, there was another series, wasn't there?
Oh yeah,
There
there's
was.
Obi-Wan as well.
Oh, that's right.
You seen
Yeah,
that one?
yeah, I saw that. I thought that was okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. I that one seemed more like fan uh fan art kind of thing, like
Yeah.
people who wanted to see Obi-Wan come back and relive that nostalgia they had from
Hmm.
the prequel trilogy. It felt like they adhered that series based around those kind of people.
Hmm.
Um, they just want to hear him say things like "I will do what I must" again and "Hello there" to Luke at the end.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I think that I did towards that kind of person. So like I was a part of that. Um, that's why I liked it a lot. The nostalgia, I guess. And I haven't seen Asuka. I haven't seen any of that yet, but it looks
Oh yeah,
pretty
yeah,
good.
Ahsoka Tano. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Then I haven't seen that one either. I heard it's actually pretty decent. I've been meaning to
Yeah.
check it out. Then did you ever see Boba Fett?
Oh yeah, yeah. I saw that one as well. Yeah,
It's
that one was okay.
yeah,
I don't think was that the one that had the like biker gang that were on those multicolored
yeah,
like
yeah,
Vespas.
yeah.
I thought that was awful.
Yeah, it was.
I thought that was like it was like a Disney version of like a gang. It's like okay,
Yeah. That
that
was
was
like out of nowhere. I feel like that was odd. I felt like the funny thing about that show is like the best parts were like when the Mandalorian came in. It was just like,
yeah,
yes,
definitely,
Mandalorian's back.
definitely, yeah,
Like the weird thing is like you had to watch Boba Fett to really understand all of Mandalorian because like if you didn't watch Boba
oh
Fett,
yeah,
then like as soon as you got to season 3 of Mandalorian, you're just like, wait, what's happening?
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, because there were certain aspects in which they
yeah,
interacted in the Boba Fett series that
mm-hmm,
you wouldn't have seen in the Mandalorian. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. I never thought of that.
Yeah, because like me and my wife rewatched Mandalorian, and we like, went on to season 3, and we are like, wait, we're missing something. Like we already seen Boba Fett, and we were like, wait, we're missing something. What did we miss? We're like, oh, it's within the Boba Fett series. We have to watch that now to like actually rewatch the whole thing again. And I was just
Yeah,
like,
because
man, that's crazy.
isn't there also just one episode where it's like Boba Fett isn't even in it? It's just the Mandalorian story.
Yeah, it was pretty much just only Mandalorian. Like I don't even know why. Like it was just like I think it was just like their way. Like you guys have to watch Boba Fett if you guys want to see the Mandalorian. Like watch it
Yeah,
now.
just forcing people to watch
Yeah.
it by putting a character that they really want to see into another
Mm-hmm.
series.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that was interesting. But yeah, I think by far Mandalorian was definitely my favorite for sure too.
yeah.
I was like, yeah, Mandalorian.
I liked in Obi-Wan in
Hmm.
Kenobi in the series
Oh yeah.
there. Like I liked seeing what happened to Anakin to like how he turned
Mm,
into Vader like
yeah.
shortly afterwards after like the ending of like episode 3. I liked that aspect about it. But there was like certain things in it that I wasn't, Oh, the Leia character.
Oh yeah.
I thought she was annoying.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
they
no, the scene where it's like the gang is like trying to catch her and she's
mhm.
just slowly running away. It's like, come on, that's not realistic whatsoever. Like you could catch up to a little girl in 3 strides and pick her up.
Hmm. Yeah, it was. There was definitely parts of that series of the Obi-Wan that was just like what, but like I think overall, like your point, like it was pretty good. Like I had some cool nostalgia for sure. Like watching him like fight Darth Vader and stuff. I was like, yeah, that was pretty cool. So
Hmm.
I can agree. I actually, and then Andor. I know you said you haven't seen that one. I'd say it is good. Like it's worth watching. It starts really slow though, and it builds into it, and like it starts to make you want to watch it more. So this, like, if you do
So
start it, like it will start slow, like because they have to like develop like the characters at the beginning. Is really like what my
right,
perspective is on it. So,
what was the main story behind the Andor
um,
series?
it is. I don't want to. Well, without giving too much spoilers, like Andor is like this guy's named Cassian, and he's like it's pretty much like the rebels, like them like trying to take down like the Empire. No real Jedi's in it, but it's more like them just trying to take down the Empire from like a perspective of like the rebels going at it.
Okay, so is
Hmm.
it like a small group kind of thing before
Hmm.
like they grew as like an organization
Yep,
against?
exactly. Like it
Right, I
shows
see.
like the building of that, like how that like even started in the first place, because it was
I
like
see.
they were just getting like decimated like whenever they try to start something, and so they were like
You're
really
right. Okay.
small and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
kind of keeping
So,
like hidden, and like shows
hmm.
like them like how they got to the victories and stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds look like I've heard it's good, but
mhm.
like, yeah. Um, we I'm kind of like more into like the Lord of the
Oh
Rings
yeah.
rather than Star Wars, but
Mhm.
yeah, like I'll still go to it like every now and then. Yeah.
Yeah, so the
So
Lord of the
I
Rings
like
for
it.
sure. Yeah. So what was I gonna say? So then with like gaming, did you ever play like the Lord of the Rings games or any of the Lord of the Rings games?
Yeah, yeah. That was like one of my favorite games as well. Like an old game
Hmm.
that's based off a movie was the Return of the King
Oh yeah.
game.
Hmm.
Um, oh, I can't remember. I think that was like an original Xbox game, maybe. I don't think
Hmm.
it was. I don't know if it was on 360 or not. But though that was like, I think that was really well done for like a game just based off a movie. Most of the time movie-based games are like quite shitty, but
Yeah.
that one was really good. and I didn't even realize that there was a Two Towers game that was
Oh yeah.
very similar to that at the time that I've
Mhm.
never played. Like I still haven't played to this day. But like if I could get a copy of it or something, I would probably give it a go. Um, because that was another game I would
Mhm.
play with my dad or with my friends.
Yeah.
Because you could select a character at the beginning of each mission, and there
Mhm.
would be like the classic trio of like Gimli, Legolas, or Aragorn, and then as you play through the levels, you upgrade your characters, and then you unlock new combos, and the
Oh.
combos get like more and more stronger.
Mhm.
And there's a point where like towards the end of the game, once you've leveled up Aragorn to the max, he has this combo that just like decimates like all of the orcs around him. It
Yeah.
was ridiculous.
Actually,
So
I'm pretty sure I played that game. Yeah, that was a really fun game for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There'd be levels where you could play as like Gandalf, and then there was ones where you would
Mhm.
play as Frodo and Sam. There was bosses in it, and there
Mhm.
was like mini bosses. So the boss, like I think mini bosses were like uh trolls and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that game. That game was definitely a good game for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had some fun with that game playing with my brother. I think there was another game that was like somewhat similar to where you can like choose like it wasn't like you were Gimli or Legolas or anything like that, but you could choose like between a ranger or a dwarf and something else, and you could like level up and like actually like it's kind of more like Skyrim in a way where you can have like your like level like different level points and stuff, and you can actually like equip different gear. I
Hmm.
can't. I have to look up the name of that
Like an
game.
old game?
It was a little bit older. I think it
Not
was
like
more.
Shadow of Mordor.
No, it wasn't Shadow of Mordor. I think it was like Middle Earth. I think
Oh,
it
Battle
was
for
what.
Middle Earth?
Yeah, I think that's the one it was, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, yeah. I've never played that one, but I heard like that's like the Lord of the Rings like version of Knights of the Old Republic kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would definitely check that out as well. I've also not played Knights of the Old Republic, and I hear that's like a really good Star Wars game.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard that one's good too. I actually haven't played it surprisingly either, but there's actually a lot of good like Star Wars games and Lord of the Rings games too. So.
Yeah, yeah. I played Shadow of Mordor.
Mhm.
That's the first one, right? And the
Yeah.
second one was Shadow of War.
Yep.
Yeah, I played Shadow of Mordor all the way through, and I like the story and the interaction or like the the pairing between I can't remember the ranger's name and the elf.
Yep.
Um, and I think didn't he create the nine rings and like the one ring, the elf in it?
I'm trying to remember the story. I actually don't. Even, I don't think I even remember that story of that game that well. I was just like, yeah, this game's like Assassin's Creed. I'm just gonna play it,
Yeah, yeah.
and went into
It
it.
did play like very similar to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, it was a good
it
game.
was.
I don't. I think I missed the story for sure on that one.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's something like that where you
Mhm.
like he's paired with the elf that had made like the nine rings. So he was like the forger of them. And like he obviously like you could use skills that the elf would use that would
Mhm.
like stealth based and he would do, different ones as well.
It wasn't like a wraith. It was like the wraith version of the
Yeah,
elf. Okay,
yeah,
yeah. All right,
yeah.
yeah, definitely, yeah. So and then like I know the Rings of Power. That story had the elf who created um the Rings of Power too. Like I think it's like towards the last couple episodes he was in there. I can't remember his name right now, but he was in
The
that.
young one?
Yeah,
Was he young?
there's definitely one that and they showed him creating it because Sauron was
Oh,
in that show and like convinced him to create the rings when they wouldn't have, and he created it.
all
Yeah.
right. I don't remember that.
Yeah, you made me go back and rewatch that part because that part was like
Well,
probably like the last
I
couple
still
episodes
haven't.
were
Yeah.
like the most important, like interesting parts, I think. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because as I mentioned, I didn't watch the last episode,
Hmm.
and all I remember from hearing what would happen in the last episode, because I think my parents watched it
Hmm.
all the way through. They said that the Maya, the the tall guy that had like powers,
Right.
um, didn't he turn out to be Gandalf?
there's questions on if some people think he's Gandalf, some people think he might be like Sauron, or there's also like what they call like I think the Blue Wizards or something like that in Lord of the
Oh,
Rings,
okay.
who
So it's
are
not like
yeah,
definitive.
yeah, it's not definitive. I don't think anyone knows, but
Oh,
there's like
okay.
some things that he like said that make people think it is, but they think it also might just be like an ode to Gandalf. Like he says like I always follow my nose or something like that,
Right,
which
okay.
was like Gandalf used to always say that. So people were like, "That's Gandalf," and then some people were like, "But also he could be a
Maybe he
blue
just,
wizard," and they could just add
yeah.
that in line in there as like, "Hey, this is to Gandalf." So we don't
Right,
know for
okay,
sure.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's I don't know, but I mean I can see it being Gandalf, but I can also see it not being Gandalf. So I don't know. It's hard to say.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
interested to see if they're gonna add more to that series so we know like who that is or not. But
Yeah, they're making another series, right?
or are they? I didn't hear anything about that, but it
I
makes
think I
sense they
heard that they
would.
were.
I feel like they should, because I mean, they kind of left it hanging. So I'm like,
Yeah. Well,
what's
I mean,
going
they
on?
poured so much money into it as well,
Hmm.
didn't they? It was
Yeah.
like one of the most expensive series ever made.
Hmm.
You would think they would then want to continue the story afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know. Like some, like you think they would for some TV shows, and then they just drop it, and it's like,
Yeah.
but like people
I,
liked it too. Like, why are you stopping it? Like,
yeah,
so,
yeah. Like one of the series that I really enjoyed was on Netflix. It was called Mindhunter.
oh yeah,
I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen it?
I don't think I've seen Mindhunter. What's it about?
It's um it's a group of FBI agents that are into that first start categorizing serial killers as like serial killers. So they create like the category of like these people, um, and uh, they sit down with like a number of known serial killers that have been arrested and imprisoned, to try and like learn about their mental behaviors and the way that they think
Wow.
in order to like help categorize like these people and learn more from them, and how they were feeling at the time in which they reacted so violently.
Hmm.
So all of the conversations that they had in real life with Ed Kemper, the what was he called, the um I can't remember what they called like what his nickname was, but he was very open about how he was feeling and what he did and how he was feeling, what made him do what he did as well. So that was like he was like a big help into uh the mental the mental side of like the serial killers. And
Hmm.
they made two series of it, and the first series was a lot of, like with Ed Kemper and like a group of three FBI agents that were then like they weren't just speaking to serial killers. They were also like looking into like local crimes as well and trying to help with that. And in the second series, it was more about like local crimes and helping other people whilst also trying to do the um, serial killer like categorizing. And then they just ended it after season three. There was like little hints into later series would be more about the BTK like murderer.
Right.
Um, but obviously because they cancelled it, they haven't like pursued any further. It's just ended at season two, which is a shame that it could have been like a good series.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's set in like the 70s, I guess, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, that does sound pretty interesting. Kind of again like the inside, like behind like the minds of serial killers. It makes me think of. Did you ever watch Dexter?
No, but I know of it, and I know like I heard that it's been a pretty good series.
It was pretty interesting series. He's like a serial killer who only like kills bad guys, like criminals and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
It was definitely an interesting show. Like it was the actor played it well. Definitely recommend giving it a watch if you're
Who was
into this kind of
the
things.
actor that played him again?
Oh man, I don't. I'm not good at remembering the actors' names. Actually, I don't usually commit to memory, so I'm not sure. I can't remember his name, but if I saw a picture of him, I could point it out to him. But
Okay.
I don't think he's that big. I don't think he's really that big of like an actor in like other things. I haven't really seen him in many other shows or
All right.
movies, so
Okay.
that's probably also why. But
Right.
yeah, he definitely did a good job in that movie. Um,
Yeah.
or so that TV show. I don't know why I said movie. Yeah, definitely a good one to check out if you're into like serial killer kind of stuff.
So there's quite a few series of that, right?
Oh, that one
Like
has
it's
like I want to say it's like 7 seasons or something like
okay.
that. Yeah, so it has a lot. Like if you're gonna watch it, like you could definitely watch a lot of it.
I don't know if it's that one, but I know there's a series based off a serial killer that some guy actually tried to imitate in real life and kind of
Mm,
like kill somebody and try and get away with it.
I don't think it's that one either. I know there's so many serial killer TV shows now too.
I think it was one where it's like it might have been based around like a movie producer or
Hmm.
something that kills somebody and they think it's like fake or something to do with the movie, and then
I don't think I saw
it might have
that
been something like that. I don't
or heard
know.
about it. But yeah, I don't think I've heard of that one. But um, yeah, man. So I mean, there's definitely some good TV shows out there. So as far as gaming and like the workout stuff, let's kind of tie it back into there. How do you balance the two? Do you ever find yourself kind of like going like too far into gaming, like, oh, I need to focus more on my workouts, or how do you balance the two and make sure like you actually do stay healthy while you're gaming?
Uh, like the fitness side is obviously like that comes first. Like I'm
Right.
gonna do that as long as I'm like healthy and not unwell or anything or sick, or if I'm just like on holiday or something. Unless there's something like that happening, then I will like I am so consistent with training and I have been since I started basically
Mm-hmm.
that it's just like uh it's just written into me kind of thing. Like I can't not train 5 days a week now. Um unless, I'm sick or whatever or but in terms of gaming that's more like obviously I do it now for streaming.
Right.
Uh so there's that side and then just it's just another form of um, meditation kind of thing for me. So it just helps me relax and puts my mind into something else, something different to focus on at the time. Uh, so yeah, that's what I kind of do more when it's like a single player game, and obviously like when it's multiplayer, then I'm just playing with a friend, and it's just it's another way of staying social without leaving the house kind of thing. And I play most of the time with a friend from the UK,
Oh,
so
nice.
I obviously can't see him in person now.
Mhm.
So most like our whole entire interaction is either through messaging or we're playing a game together. So yeah, I don't have a problem at all with like managing the two because training is has been such an important aspect of my life since I was like 15 or 16.
Mhm.
Like the most time I've taken off in the gym from when I started was during COVID when they closed gyms down for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Since then, like I've
Mhm.
not I've not stopped training basically weekly like since then. You know, that's the only time where I've stopped training for a certain period of time. Um, but like with gaming, as I said, it's just more like just a different way to relax. So like if I
Mhm.
don't want to watch a movie, I'm gonna play a game, or if I don't want to read or something, yeah,
Definitely, yeah. That's awesome, man. I love that you have like that habit built into you, so it's like
yeah,
easy for you to do now. And I'm sure when you don't do it, probably feels awkward and you're like, oh man, I want to get
yeah.
out there and work out.
There like on the weekend, I train my legs like on the weekend when I have like a day off that I know I can get efficient sleep, and I can fuel my body correctly because it's going to be a difficult workout and it's going to be very taxing. So I make sure I put it on a day where I know I'm going to be refreshed and like fueled sufficiently to get the workout in because I'm going to push myself hard. Um, and last this weekend I couldn't because like I had poor sleep and I didn't eat enough,
Mhm.
so I knew the workout was going to be shitty anyway. So I thought instead of like pushing myself through a pointless workout where I'm not going to get much out of it anyway, I'm going to, stay at home, make sure I eat sufficiently,
Mhm.
get all the meals in, and then next week I'll be like refreshed and ready to go.
Yeah, that's great awareness. So like, did you have to go through a couple times of like doing a workout when you had like no food in you or like no energy and realize like,
Yeah,
hey,
like
I shouldn't have worked out that time. I should
yeah,
have
like
relaxed.
there's been days where like I've had a full day at work and on like not the best amount of sleep, and then
Mhm.
I've come in and trained legs, and it was so difficult.
Mhm.
It like I got through it all, but like you you don't really feel like trying to do heavy squats on a day where you've had like a full day at work and like only slept on 4 or 5 hours of sleep. That's a very that's a very unique feeling kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Like it's very difficult. And if anything, you're probably just diminishing the returns in which you would get in the workout rather than like if you had a good night's sleep and made sure you've eaten enough.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely important to like be aware of like where your body is at. Like, should I actually work out or should I give myself some time to relax and
Yeah,
like
you
recuperate?
definitely need that balance. That's
Mhm.
one thing that people seem to like misunderstand, I think, nowadays is like because there's all this like hustle nature on like social media and
Mhm.
stuff, and it's like should be only sleeping 4 or 5 hours. You get up early in the morning, you make your bed, you go to the gym, you have like 10 hours of work, you come home, you eat, and then you go to sleep and then you repeat. But
Mhm.
like you can't do that sufficiently for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And like your workout's gonna be affected, your work in general will be affected because you're not getting enough rest. So, you're not focused and alert as you should be. So, like, it's very important to make sure that you know when to take more rest.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, and hey, what's up, Chris? Thanks for joining, and thank you, Brainwashed. I appreciate the comments. Yeah, man, I totally agree with that. So, how much like sleep do you aim for to make sure that you do get enough rest? Is like around 8 hours? Is that what you aim for?
8 hours at least. Like,
Yep.
it depends on what you're doing as well.
Mhm.
Like, um, if it's general fitness, if you're trying to build muscle and make sure you're recovering properly, it should be at least 8 hours.
Yep.
If not, it should be a little bit more. Um, Building muscle, you need more rest than you do like if you're cutting, for example. Like when you're cutting, you're not going to be building that much muscle, if any at all. So when you so level of sleep is not as important as it would be if you're trying to build muscle. Um, building muscle, you need as much rest as you can get. Basically, like if you can sleep more than 8 hours, then you should be, uh, because you want like optimal performance whilst you're
Mhm.
training. And when you're cutting, obviously you just need enough rest to make sure that you're good to go the next day to do your workout,
Mhm.
because it's a lot easier to maintain muscle muscle mass in general than it is to build, because with building you have to constantly push yourself further basically to continue the progress. So when you begin working out, it's quite easy. It's
Mhm.
very easy. Like it's called beginner gains for a reason. It's like very easy to put on like 10, 15 pounds or whatever in general. But then once you've done that, then pushing yourself to continue to like progress becomes more and more difficult. So you need to like make sure you get enough rest, make sure you drink enough water in the day. That's going to be a lot of water as well.
Mhm.
Obviously, like some supplements like creatine, like things that you might not get enough of in your diet, can be beneficial. And obviously, like protein powder can help because you want to make sure you get at least um a gram of protein per pound of body weight. Like you can do a little bit less than that, but if you like, that's just a simple goal to aim for in each day. Um, and then, getting enough rest. So like at least 8 hours, if not more.
Yeah, definitely. So, um, how do you focus on like on what you eat? Because I know like it can be easy to kind of like, oh, the fast food, the Doritos, the junk food.
Yeah.
Do you just like cut that out of your life entirely, or what kind of foods do you
No,
focus on for building your health?
I mean, like at the point that I'm at now, um, I need like uh quite a high caloric surplus to actually make a difference in my weight. So, when I moved here, I started training with a coach, and the coach is like, he's an ex-pro bodybuilder. He used to be like over 300 pounds. His name is Ron. He owns West Coast Iron here, which is like the bodybuilding gym that people go to in like the Vancouver area. So basically, they have a pro show in Vancouver. So when that goes on, and they also have a local show which is like beginner competitors that the gym promotes. So basically, whenever there's any of these competitors in the Vancouver area, they will train at West Coast Iron.
Nice.
So like all of the top pros at the moment, like if they're coming here to do the show, they'll be at that gym. I've seen Chris Bumstead there. I've seen like a bunch of other pro bodybuilders. There's Sean Clarita, who's like one of the top 212 competitors at the moment. He's been in there because it's also a mutant gym, and Ron Partlow, the guy who coached me for a little bit, he owns the gym. He's been with Mutant for like a long period of time, so it's technically like a mutant gym. So all of the sponsored athletes or like competitors that are with Mutant, they will venture there every now and then. So yeah, Sean Clarida is one of them. Uh, where was I going with this?
I was
What was
asking
the
about the
original?
food. Yeah, no problem.
Oh, that's right.
No, it was still
Yeah.
interesting that you shared that. But yeah, I was asking about the food,
Yeah, yeah.
like what you
When I
eat.
was so yeah, when I was being coached by Ron, we would we would initially starting with bulking, so like slowly increasing body weight. Um, and for me to do that, like you're gonna be eating healthy, clean meals throughout most of the day, like about 2 meals a week. I would have like a cheat meal, so it would be whatever basically. So like pizza or a burger or a Subway sandwich or something healthier like sushi or a burrito or something like that. That's basically like what I still do now to this day. Um, but outside of that, I will just eat like clean meals, and it doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't
Right.
have to be chicken, rice, and broccoli. If you don't like that, then you don't have to eat it. Um, and you probably won't eat it, and you'll struggle to eat it
Yeah.
because if you just don't like it. So it still needs to be food that you enjoy because you're going to be eating it a lot throughout the day. So it needs to be obviously healthy foods and like lean meat sources, so not very high in fat, but it needs to be food that you still enjoy. So, don't be shy of like seasoning your food properly. You can still season food properly without it being a ton of calories. So no, it doesn't have to be like creamy sauces and, high fat stuff with a bunch of cheese and that. But, like everything there's a lot of like nowadays there are more healthier alternatives to things. So like there's a lot of lactose-free cheese and fat-free cheese. So you can always use them in stuff if you want like a little bit of a fat source. Um, it's just about finding things that you enjoy eating and that you know is healthy. So you can like experiment basically. So my meals recently, like I've been eating a lot of rice in my meals, and I think after a period of time now, my my tolerance for it, like in my body, is not the best kind of thing. Like it's been known to digest well, but I think just eating it for
Yeah.
so long for like numerous meals in the day for like at least over a year is just kind of like I've been getting, I guess, bored of the taste or whatever. Like it sometimes you're not paying attention to it. Like you'll be eating a meal and all of a sudden you realize that you're not eating it as quickly as you think you would be, even though you're hungry. So you're probably just not enjoying it as much. So you just have to make alternatives in the meals that you eat. So I've been having like more potatoes, and I really like, you know, making roasted potatoes. And again, you can make those healthier by just putting like spray oils on it instead of regular oil. So it's less fat in there, but they still taste good. And then from there, just finding like low calorie sauces that you can put on your meals, just makes it, more enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, do you do like a lot of eggs?
Yeah, my caloric intake now is slightly lower than what it used to be because obviously like I had a little bit more fat in my diet earlier on. So when I first started with Ron, my calories were quite high because I had generally more fat in my diet. So in order to be in a surplus to put on weight, I would have to have more fat. Whereas now, because I did a cut for a while, and then so my calories were reduced because now I just have to be in another surplus to continue to put on weight again. It doesn't have to be as much fat as it used to be. So before I used to have 4 eggs a day in the morning, like whole eggs,
Yep.
and now I'm doing a cup of egg whites with 1 egg.
Okay.
So yeah,
Isn't like the yolk would be like the most like protein nutritious part, like most, so you
the
skip out
yolk
on the
is the
yolk?
most
Is this
nutritious,
just because it has
but
more calories? Is that why you skip out on it?
yeah, there's more calories and cholesterol in like the egg yolk, but it is the nutritious part
Yeah.
of the egg. The egg white has like next to no nutrition whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's basically just protein.
Definitely. Perfect. Yeah, and yeah, I definitely I focus on like eating like like whole foods, like raw like foods, like vegetables and like grass fed beef and grass fed meats. Focus on the organic stuff, the stuff that doesn't have like all the pesticides and herbicides on it. Really just focus on like putting actual food that's not packaged. I feel like that's a great
Right.
place to start if you're trying to eat healthier. Just put actual food in your body, not the stuff that's been created and put into a box. Put something that's been
Yeah.
grown in the ground or the
Yeah.
realms of
Well,
earth.
I think with that as well is like the organic stuff. It has better quality
Yeah.
anyway. You can notice a difference. Like I try and have most of my protein from like a butcher's nearby, Meridian. That's like a family run like butcher's place that kind of it grew and expanded, and they've got like a few more locations within this area now. So and all of their chicken like well, any of their meat
Mhm.
sources, you can really notice the difference in quality
Oh yeah.
compared to like something you buy at like Walmart.
Mhm.
Like some of the food, like their produce is okay, and like obviously like the prices in their canned stuff and things in boxes is good, but like fresh meat and that, like some of their meats are like pretty low quality.
Yeah.
Like I won't have their turkey mince from there again just because of like you can taste how poor the quality is. It's just like really gritty as well. Like it's just not enjoyable to eat in general.
Mhm. Yeah, it's something that I feel like a lot of people don't realize is like it may cost a little more to get like the organic stuff, but like
Mm,
or like the actual stuff that's treated correctly and like fed the correct foods, but
yeah,
it just tastes so much like it tastes better, like and you feel better like when you eat that stuff. You're just like
yeah,
like you are actually getting something good for your body. Like
yeah,
it's just crazy the difference when you start to eat that
yeah.
way.
Whereas like if you have the lower quality stuff,
Hmm.
when you eat it, it's like I don't feel like I should have eaten that. Like that doesn't
Yeah.
feel good going down into my stomach.
Mhm. Yeah, I was
You know?
actually gonna ask you about that when you have like your cheat days and you eat something like that. Do you ever feel like, oh, like I shouldn't have done that cheat day? Like I can tell the difference now.
Yeah, it depends on what it for me, most of the time I'm okay,
Mm-hmm.
but it depends on how much of it I have. Like if it's a big unhealthy meal, then I'm gonna feel like generally kind of crappy a little bit the next day. But if it's just like a burger and some chips, then most of the time I'm okay. Um, yeah, it depends. There's just certain things as well that are unhealthy that
Mm-hmm.
just do not agree with me. So I really like KFC food, but in like the short number of times that I've had it, it's just not been like uh not felt good in my stomach the next day. Like I just can't eat it. That and like Chinese food, I
Yeah.
don't know if it's just the oil that they put in Chinese food. Like I
So much
enjoy the food,
MSG.
but it could be, yeah.
Yeah.
But like generally the next day after that, I just feel generally like unwell, like I'm
Mhm.
sick. So that's just something I have to avoid.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I don't eat out very often, but when I do, I usually notice. Well, I usually try to choose like the places that are a little bit healthier, but I do
Mm,
notice like I don't feel as good because I know like the quality of the food, like KFC, right? Like their meat is just not very good quality. Unfortunately, they don't like
yeah.
it's all grown like farm grown, like or not farm grown, but
Mm,
it's all like factory grown, like
yeah.
shoved
Yeah.
into like a giant warehouse with a whole bunch of other
Mm,
chickens and like
yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately it's just not the food people should be eating. But that's why
Yeah.
majority of people are more obese nowadays and feel low energy.
Yeah. I feel like in see the UK
Hmm.
for like obesity, they have a slightly different problem, I think, to like America and Canada.
Yeah.
Um, because kids in America and Canada are like generally quite active, but in the UK they are not so much. And so when their parents feed them unhealthy food, which will be like quite frequently, it'll just be like unhealthy crap, like chicken nuggets or like those turkey dinosaur
Oh
things,
yeah.
things like that. Um, and chips and
Mhm.
just a generally unhealthy plate of food. They don't then go out and burn it off at all.
Mhm.
So a lot of kids in the UK are more obese, and in America it's more adults.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's just like a kind of difference that you see like in obesity in like the UK.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because I've never lived in the UK, but I feel like it's like in America, like they may not look obese, but they're definitely still unhealthy, and then they get to be adults and their
Mm,
metabolism slows down, and boom, it just hits them like so hard, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just
yeah,
getting old."
yeah,
It's like,
mm,
no, just like your diet is terrible, like and. Like I used to eat that crap too, and like I know like once like I was always like string bean, right? Once I hit college time, I started to gain weight. Like I think I gained like 30 pounds like freshman year from like all the alcohol and from like just like the dorm food and stuff like that. And I was like, damn, like you hear about the freshman 30 like 15, but not the freshman 30. Like I just gained so much weight. And I started getting like a belly and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I gotta start working out and like focus on my health and
yeah.
like cut out the alcohol and I started like eating healthy and like I dropped that weight again. Like
Yeah,
it's
I mean, like fitness and health is
mm-hmm,
generally like one thing that everybody should be,
yeah.
thinking of in their life. I think a lot of people take it for granted,
Mm-hmm,
and there's a lot of roles in society that kind of also take it for granted,
mm-hmm,
and um, they don't make that a factor in the job as much as they should be, for example. So like very like manual labor kind of jobs, there should be benefits that involve like physiotherapy and
mm-hmm.
things like that to help with their workers, but that would cost more money and they won't be willing to incorporate that.
Definitely.
So there's a lot of people that take their health for advantage.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like it's just people aren't really taught the correct way to eat either, and like they just see everyone else like everyone else is eating this stuff, so I'm gonna eat the same stuff. But we kind of see where society is going with that diet. So I am glad that you are talking about these things. So when you're like streaming, are you talking about? I saw like on your Instagram you talked about how you're sharing like health tips. Like what kind of information are you sharing while you're streaming?
Basically, like if somebody's watching and if they have any questions, then I'll be free to like answer any of the questions. So it could be anything, basically anything fitness related or gym related or bodybuilding or anything. I've been learning from the time that I started training to now. Like I've been learning about fitness and bodybuilding and all of this slowly over, you know, the period of time in which I've had. Uh, and I still continue to learn because there's always something else you can learn about it. You shouldn't close your mind, once you feel like you know more because you're never gonna know everything about something. So even when I started training with Ron at West Coast Dining, there was things that he told me about it, obviously because I'm still not in terms of bodybuilding. I'm natural, so there is certain aspects that get more incorporated and more complex as you become like pro and things like that. So, there's always things that you can learn more on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, I feel like the more I learn about health, the more I'm like realize I need to keep learning, right? Actually,
Yeah.
this book right here behind me, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy by Paul Chek. One like my favorite books regarding like holistic health, like overall like health, um, mind, body, spirit, like how everything affects you. Paul Chek is like one of like such a smart man. Like I definitely recommend if you don't know who Paul Chek is to check out his work. You can definitely
Okay.
learn a lot from him. He's like I think he's in his 60s and he's like super ripped. He's more like a lean muscle kind of guy. Not like a
Yeah.
bodybuilder or anything like that, but like you can tell like he's super healthy and he definitely like takes care of his body, but he actually started his own like school about like holistic health, and people were telling him like
Right.
you don't know anything about holistic, you can't start this school. And now he is like he has someplace he has one in California, I think he has one in Toronto and one in the UK as well, like a school there. And so he's like
Okay.
international school around like holistic health. So definitely recommend checking him out because actually did his course to learn like just
Or he has a course.
yeah, he has like holistic lifestyle practitioner is what it is. Actually, he has a whole bunch of different courses. Like you actually may want to check him out because he has some really cool courses like regarding just like health and like PT training and stuff like that. He's really big into like the fitness world. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I definitely recommend check. I can shoot you his content after this or his information. He has like a YouTube and stuff like that, um,
Right.
Instagram. So he's definitely
Yeah.
a cool guy to follow for sure. He's got some cool
Okay.
information. But for like anyone who is like let's say they're not working out, they're not eating healthy, and they're feeling like they're kind of stuck because they maybe they try to like eat healthy or work out for a bit and they just kind of get give up. They hit like that plateau. I'm talking about like where they start working out and they feel really good and then they're not making any progress. They just kind of give up. Do you have like any advice for them?
Um, well, I mean, there's many things that you can do to then like continue your progress. Obviously, if you're natural, like there's only a certain level on which you can get to. I'm kind of like at that point now. Um, but before you get to that point, there are certain things that you can do. So if it's like it can be changing certain aspects in your training. It can be changing certain aspects in your diet. Those are like the main two things. So with your diet, like I guess if they're overweight, then starting. I guess it depends on how far they got, but there's so many different variations that could be affecting your progress. So it could be like you're still eating crappy food, but you started training, so you're in a caloric deficit for a certain period of time, and now like the deficit is like plateaued. So at that point, you would have to change certain aspects in your diet, either changing like the meals that you eat or like reducing the size. But if it's unhealthy stuff, then you probably want to change it. Maybe just start with like one of the meals that you would have in the day if they're all unhealthy. Just start with changing one of them into something that's slightly healthier. that's lower calorie, but is still satiating and has enough volume in it to fill you up. So yeah, that's one thing that's like super important in your diet when you're trying to be healthy, is it needs to fill you up as well, and you still have to enjoy it. Like those things have to be like present, otherwise you're just gonna give up after a certain period of time. Um, and with the training, um, again, it depends on your goals. So like if you're trying to build muscle, you're obviously going to be in a caloric surplus.
Mhm.
So training would have to be, you would have to increase the intensity in some way, whether that means you're doing your more reps per set, more sets, or just generally like harder sets in general. So like you're getting to the end, you do a set, and then you can't do a full rep. So you do partial reps at the end,
Mhm.
or you do a rest pause, or you do a drop set. You know, things like this to increase the intensity and make the set like go on for longer, because it's that period in time putting you like the muscle, whatever you're working, um, in like a stress situation that helps you grow.
Definitely.
So it depends on it depends on many things, but yeah, it's majority of the time it's going to be based on like something to do with your workouts or something to do with your food.
Yeah.
So like making your food, like if you're trying to build muscle, eating more food,
Mhm.
but you know keeping it healthy in general. Um, and if you're trying to lose weight, make sure you're in a caloric deficit, so you're either eating less calorie dense food or you're just eating less food in general. But you know, you don't want to be reducing your amount of food too much because you're going to be hungry in the day.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love that advice. Just like pretty much what I got from that is like, it's just about focusing on like your progression. It's not about perfection, right? If you need to
Yeah,
start small with the food, like slow changes,
yeah,
because sometimes those big changes can make it so you just revert right back to what you were doing before and just kind of give up, right? So I
yeah,
think,
exactly.
mhm,
It's the big changes that you make that are going to fuck you up in the long term.
yeah,
So like if you want to like lose a bunch of weight like in 3 months, then obviously you're going to be having like much less food or doing much more exercise. And then after those 3 months, you're going to binge and, you know, like put on all of that weight back and more. So, in order to keep that weight off, you have to do it short, a lot over a long period of time, losing, you know, small amounts of weight.
mhm,
So, like 1 or 2 pounds per week is like more than enough.
oh yeah,
If you're trying to lose more than that, then it's just going to be a bunch of water weight to begin with, which is like no fat at all. It's
mhm.
just the water and glycogen build up in your body. So that will just come back after, you know, a short period of time. And then like you won't burn that much fat afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've experienced that in my own life too. Like I tried to make all these big changes real quick, and then I was like, went right back to it and just gained it all back, and I was like, oh man, I should probably do that different. Like you have to like build up that habit, right? You have to
Yeah,
build in the habits of eating
yeah,
healthy. So like just like you do with like your 5 day workouts, right? You had to build that habit first, and then now when you don't do it, you're like, oh man, I really want to go work out, and that habit's already
yeah,
built. So
yeah.
it's built
It
into
doesn't
it.
feel like a regular day if I don't train in the
Mhm.
day that I'm supposed to.
Yeah,
It's like something's missing.
exactly. Like
And
that's my. Oh, we're gonna say.
you just feel different in the day if you don't train. Like it's like you have excess energy that should not be there
Mhm.
because you usually burn it off when you're training.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely understand that. Like when I don't work out, I definitely notice like I'm more like lethargic.
Yeah,
Like the next day, like I just don't have like the same energy. Which people think like, why would that be the case? But like your body needs that to like get it like moving. Like we're meant to be moving, but like just recently we just started sitting around on computers and cubicles
yeah,
all the day. Like we need to get
yeah,
up and moving, and like I try to
yeah,
get up and like move around every once in a while too. Since I work
yeah,
at like a desk job. Um, but yeah, man, I totally agree with that, and I really enjoyed our conversation today. I think it was super interesting. As far as streaming, What time do you usually stream at?
I usually stream on Tuesdays. It's sometime between like 2:30 or like 1:30 or 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for like 2 hours, and I'll I'll probably do it on the weekend as well, like around the same time, either Saturday or Sunday.
Mhm.
And every now and then I'll throw in like another one, like on a different day, depending on like what I have going on.
Makes sense. Yeah. So anyone who's listening, make sure you check out his stream and show him some support there. Also check out his Instagrams. I'll have all his links down below so you guys can find his content. Definitely show Ryan some support here. And yeah, I mean, Ryan, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking today. I think it was a great conversation. And I just really support what you're doing, and looking forward to seeing you become a professional bodybuilder.
Yeah, maybe one day. I mean, yeah, that's one thing that I've yet to approach. But yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Is that your
I
goal?
definitely can do it. Like it as in terms of will,
Mhm.
like I don't have any issue there. Like I know I can do it. But it's yeah.
Have you posted a picture of like when you were super skinny and compared it to now?
No, that like when I was skinny, I was like 15 or something.
Hmm.
So obviously like I'm 29 now.
Yeah.
So uh not only is a difference from like training in the gym, but it's also just generally like puberty.
Oh
Like
yeah.
people will grow and build a bit of muscle just from that.
Hmm.
So like um it's not very realistic posting a before and after,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
fair.
like before puberty and after kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um so like the only if I ever did like a before and after, it would be like maybe at the start or at the end of a bulk to like the end of a cut kind of
Hmm.
thing, just to see the progress that I made there.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. I guess since you've been at it for so long, it's not really like a before and after too much, but that would be interesting to see. Anyways, yeah. So we'll definitely have to keep in touch, and we're gonna sign off now. So, do you want to say anything else before we hop off?
Um, Not much except, check out my Instagrams. You can always message me there if you need any fitness tips, and I'll just help you out. If not, you can check out my streams and, throw in any questions on my chat whilst I'm streaming.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everyone, for the support tonight. My name is Tanner, the Mind Hacker, and this is the gaming. Sorry, this is the gaming podcast, Unleash the Hero Within. And we'll catch you guys next time. Have a good night.